this messages on different kind of methods, remedial measures we can apply to prevent ourselves from being affected by this virus, coronavirus. Now, in what way Ayurveda can help? What Ayurveda has for us to prevent ourselves, to create a shield, preventive shield, so that we are not affected by this virus. I will give you some general guidelines. I will share with you some general guidelines from ancient science of Ayurveda. So we call it ancient science, but actually it is very timeless science. And actually the application of this ancient science in the modern times, now we see that the need is much more than it was before. The reason being, it is said that, before people used to live very simple life and they used to abide by the nature's law. That's why they did not have so many health complications. But nowadays, we have so many amenities and so many challenges also we face every day in our day-to-day life. And because of that, we end up having so many problems. And to correct those problems, to resolve those problems, if we apply Ayurvedic principles, then those can be resolved. So I said the need is much more than before, much more now than before, because we are breaking the nature's law more than before. Now today I'm going to focus on the simple guidelines which can be used by anybody, and we apply these guidelines, principles of Ayurveda, then we can strengthen our system. We can create a shield which can protect us from not only COVID-19 virus, but other viruses and unhealthy bacteria which are in the environment. So you might have heard many things about how to boost our immune system, which is very, very important. And Ayurveda also emphasizes on boosting one's immune system. So most of you might be reading messages on social media that what kind of diet one should follow, what things we should eat to boost our immune system. Today, I'm going to focus a little bit on the other side, that how it is significant to take care of our digestive system and the excretory organs. If we eat healthy food, but if it is not digested and absorbed in our body, then we don't feel benefit of having healthy food. Then it is wasted. Many of you may be familiar with the common saying that we are what we eat. Ayurveda goes a little bit further. One thing it says that we should eat what we are. That means we should eat according to our constitution. That I will explain to you very briefly what does it mean. And we are what we digest. So if the food is not digested, it is not assimilated in our body, that cannot become part of our body. And that means we are not what we are eating. So three aspects of our metabolism, very important: digestion, assimilation, and elimination. I'm going to focus on this. Now, biggest hindrance we face nowadays in our digestion, assimilation, and elimination, what we call in Ayurveda is ama. And before I go to that part of our discussion today, very quickly, I will go through with you about the fundamental principles of Ayurveda, what Ayurveda means and how it can help. So this is a very ancient science. The term Ayurveda is a combination of two Sanskrit words, Ayur and Veda. Ayur means life and Veda means science. So this is basically called science of life. Now this is very interesting. The title itself is very interesting. Why it is interesting? Because normally when we talk about science, we call it medical science. But this Ayurveda is not called medical science. Of course, herbal medicines are used to rectify the problem, to cure any kind of problem if we are facing. But to maintain our health, medicines are not so much necessary. To maintain our health, what is important is our diet and lifestyle. And this is the reason Ayurveda emphasizes on our diet and lifestyle. And this science is not called medical science. This is called science of life. So any aspect of life, if you have any problem, we can resolve those problems applying Ayurvedic principles. The definition given of health in Ayurveda also is very interesting. I've just summarized it. Actually, the definition is a little broader. So health is a dynamic balance between all physical, mental, and spiritual aspect of life. It doesn't mean absence of any disease. That is not limited definition given in Ayurveda. So we should be feeling balanced, quite balanced at all levels, our physical level, emotional level, mental level, and spiritual level as well. Oh, that is called health. The whole science of Ayurveda is based on functioning of the five universal elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, since we are part and parcel of the universe, these elements are present in our system as well. And Ayurveda combines these five elements in different proportions and puts them into three categories. Those three categories are called doshas, which are vata, pitta, and kapha. In Ayurveda, we treat them as three main pillars which sustain our body and maintain our health. It is very important, very significant to maintain the balance amongst all these three. Vata is combination of space and air elements. Air is the predominant one. Pitta is combination of air, fire, and water. Fire is the main one in that. And kapha is combination of water and earth. Water is the primary element in that combination. So these are called three doshas: vata, pitta, and kapha. We are combination of all these three, but one is the strongest one. The strongest one determines our constitution. And this constitution we get from our parents at the time of conception. And this doesn't change throughout our life. We have to live with this throughout our life from the time the conception has taken place until the time of our death. So our constitution doesn't change. But what keeps on changing within our system is called vikruti, the Sanskrit word, which means imbalance. And the symptoms which are caused due to the imbalance, those symptoms keep on changing according to the change of the imbalances. And in Ayurveda, that is said because this vikruti or imbalance is caused due to the wrong diet and wrong lifestyle. So to correct the imbalance also, the diet and lifestyle plays very important, significant role. If we correct our diet and lifestyle, then these imbalances can be corrected and the symptoms of imbalances also will disappear. The best way of finding out what is our basic constitution, what kind of imbalances we have, is a traditional way of checking from one's pulse. This is a very unique methodology. From the pulse of an individual, not only we can find out what kind of constitution, what kind of character person has, but what kind of imbalances the person has, and how those imbalances are causing difference of his behavior, difference in his behavior of that individual, and what kind of health issues that individual may be facing because of the imbalances. So this is a very old traditional way of checking. As I mentioned that these imbalances are caused due to our wrong diet and wrong lifestyle. That's why there is a proverb in Ayurveda: when diet and lifestyle is wrong, medicine is of no use. And when the diet and lifestyle is right, medicine is of no need. In my practice, I've seen in many cases, numerous cases, that when people come to see me, they actually expect that I will be giving or recommending or prescribing some kind of medicines. But when I tell them just follow the diet and lifestyle for 6 weeks, that 6 weeks period also is very significant. I will not go into details of that because we have very limited time. So just by following the diet and lifestyle, many of their health issues can be corrected, and they see big change, big positive change without taking medicines. Just by following the diet and lifestyle, many of their health issues can be resolved. So coming back to the point, what happens when our metabolism does not work very well? When digestion is slow, the undigested food remains in our system, and that also turns into a toxic mucus. And when that toxic mucus is not eliminated from the body, it keeps on accumulating in the body. Now, if you cannot have any access to consult any Ayurvedic expert or specialist, then on your own also you can find out whether your body has accumulated mucus or ama, toxic mucus in your body. Now, why I'm emphasizing on this ama today when we are talking about the COVID-19 virus, because it's a well-known fact that this COVID-19 virus, it survives and it thrives on wet environment, particularly in mucus. So when we have mucus in the body, it creates very conducive environment for this COVID-19 virus to flourish in our body and cause different problems, mainly the problems relating to our respiratory system. So that's the reason I have chosen this topic of ama. Uh, Actually, in Ayurveda, there are many numerous problems which are mentioned, which are caused mainly because of the accumulated ama in our body. So today we will be talking about very briefly that what kind of symptoms we may notice when we have ama in our body. Individually, you also can find out whether you have ama in your body or not. Now, basically, when I discuss these kind of things with my clients, when I ask them after checking their pulse, that when they go to the washroom in the morning to clear bowels, they might have noticed that the stool, the waste matter, will sinks in the body. So they get surprised that how I know from their pulse. So the pulse indicates if ama is accumulated, what happens? If our digestive system is working very well, then whatever nutrients body needs, it will extract from the food, and it will get those nutrients will get absorbed. Only waste product which is left to be eliminated from the body, that waste matter should be very light in weight. So when it is light, it should float in WC. If it doesn't float, if it is heavy in nature, that means the person is passing undigested food, and that waste matter, that stool, may also contain some mucus. And because of that, sometimes the parts of stool, get stuck in the WC. So from this, if you notice these kind of symptoms with you, then you can think that that you may have some kind of ama accumulated in your system. And with urination also, when early in the morning when we go to pass urine, if the texture of the urine it is a bit cloudy, not so crystal clear, I'm not talking about the color, I'm talking about the texture. If the texture is not clear, it's a bit cloudy, then it also gives an indication that the person has mucus, toxic mucus, ama in the body. So these are some kind of indicators, from which we can find out whether we have mucus in the body, toxic mucus. And also, when we wake up in the morning, we don't feel so fresh. We feel very lethargic, not so motivated. So these kind of lethargic feeling which we have, these kind of symptoms we notice, that also gives some kind of indication that we have some accumulated mucus in the body. So we need to address it. When we see these kind of symptoms, we need to address this. Now, what way this ama, when it is accumulated, and if it is not addressed, and if it is not eliminated from the body, what kind of problems it can cause? When it starts coating on the stomach lines, then stomach cannot produce the digestive juices, which can break the food particles for the absorption, for easy absorption. And also when this plaque, it covers the intestines, then the functioning of the intestines also becomes affected. And because of that, also our assimilation and absorption is affected. So this is what I said earlier, that despite eating healthy food, good quality food, if we see that our energy level is not improving, this is an indication that there may be some kind of ama accumulated in our system, which may be covering the stomach lines and the intestines. So because of that, our absorption and assimilation is affected, and that is not helping to increase our energy level. So we need to address that part as soon as possible. Other individual we can find out some specific things, the indicators of having ama in our body. When our tongue is coated in the morning when we wake up, when we have bad breath, normally when people have bad breath, they start using mouth freshener or something like that. Those will have a very temporary effect. If the root cause, according to Ayurveda, whenever we have any problem, anybody has any problem, we try to find out what is the root cause of the problem. When we address the root cause of the problem, then the symptoms which manifest from the root cause of the problems, those symptoms also will slowly disappear. So instead of doing the symptomatic treatment, if we try to find out the main cause of the problem and try to deal with that problem, it can have long-lasting effects. So when anybody has any bad breath, then that's a strong indication that the person's digestive system is not clear. The bowels are not clear. Unclear bowels, they can cause so many health problems. So this bad breath also is an indication that there is ama accumulated in the system. I will not go into detail with each and every point because we have very limited time. So some indicators I discussed with you, which can give you some idea that how this Ayurvedic science works to find out, to diagnose one's problems, health problems. Now we focus on how to eliminate. If we have problems, if you are experiencing these kind of symptoms, what we discussed and what you saw on the screen, from that you can understand that you have ama in your body. Now, how we can eliminate the ama? The some of the methods I'm discussing with you. Again, I will tell you that I'm not going into detail. Customized program, is done according to the individual's requirements after checking the pulse and other things. But these kind of general guidelines anybody can apply. The basic thing is, now as we discussed, that ama is caused, it starts forming and accumulating in our body because of undigested food. So we need to give rest to our digestive system. For that, fasting is recommended. So what happens when we do fast? Now there is a difference between fasting and starving. Many people, they don't eat because of their busy schedule. They focus on their work, so they don't have proper timings for eating at the proper time. So that is not called fasting, that is called starving. Fasting means, intentionally, willingly we abstain from eating for certain period of time. So that can differ, which is called short-term intermittent fasting and extended long-term fasting. So that depends on the need of an individual. So fasting is a very basic thing which helps. Now what happens when we fast? That means we are willingly sending a message to our digestive system that we won't be supplying any food to the digestive system or the digestive fire to process that food. So when the digestive system gets some message, now here I want to mention very important point. We have overall, at our overall level, our intelligence working. At our minute level also, according to Ayurveda, at our minute cell level also, there is some intelligence working. So using our intelligence, overall intelligence, when we send the message to the intelligence in the digestive system that no food will be supplied to work on, to process it, then that same intelligence will be utilized. That fire will be utilized, digestive fire will be utilized to cleanse the system. It will start burning the toxic matter in our body. So this is the advantage of fasting. Now, if we don't fast, we just starve. We just avoid food because of our other factors, not allowing us to eat food due to our busy schedule. So what happens in that kind of situation? We have not prepared our digestive system, and we have not sent any message to the digestive system that no food will be supplied. So our digestive system is waiting for the food to process that food and transform it to energy. And if it doesn't get any food, it will start burning our healthy tissues in the body. Ayurveda talks about the different tissues, naming, plasma, blood, etc. So the first tissue, which that fire, which is to be engaged in digesting food, if the food is not supplied, that fire will start burning these healthy tissues, plasma, blood, muscles, etc. So that will have more harming effect on our health than having any beneficial effect. So we have to be very mindful when it comes to fasting, to find the difference between fasting and starving. Second part is fiber. Now it's a well-known fact, when we consume fiber, that also has very good effect on our excretory organs. It helps. It facilitates the cleansing of our system, especially the digestive system. Now, green leafy vegetables, psyllium husk, these kind of fibers we can take regularly to keep our digestive system clean. Another method which is mentioned in Ayurveda and yoga as well. In yoga, we call it Basti Kriya. In Ayurveda also, we call it Basti Kriya. The simple language for your understanding, I'm using enema, which is very well known, commonly known. Enema kits are nowadays available in the pharmacies. So you can use this on regular basis when you see the symptoms you have of having ama in your body. So if you use this enema, that also can help to clear the ama from the digestive system. Then once the digestive system is clean, then the digestion and absorption can take place properly in an appropriate manner. Now, after clearing the ama from the body, we also need to take some steps how to stop formation and accumulation of this ama in our body. Ayurveda also talks about that. First, whatever problem you have, you correct it by following specific diet and lifestyle. And once it is corrected, then you follow the diet and lifestyle according to your constitution, according to the original constitution you're born with. And when you start following the diet and lifestyle according to your constitution, then it will help to prevent the recurrence of such problems which you already face. So the prevention is very important. Now, how to prevent this formation of ama and accumulation of ama? Because again, I'm stress on this point. This toxic mucus can be a very good breeding ground for coronavirus. And this is the reason we are discussing this topic today. So in Ayurveda, we talk about daily routine and seasonal routine. Now, broadly speaking, according to Ayurvedic philosophy, we divide 1 year in 2 parts, 6 months each. Overall, we have, if we go into detail, Ayurveda talks about 6 seasons, but I will not go into those details today. Broadly speaking, Ayurveda talks about 2 seasons, hot and cold. Now, cold weather, when the winter season we can experience the weather is cold, that kind of time period, it is called Visarga period, Visarga Kala. That means in nurturing period, because during that period, the effect of sun is much less compared to the effect of moon. And it's a well-known fact that moon rays have nurturing effect on our body. It can help to produce more nectar in our body, which can have very good boosting effect on our immune system. So because of that reason, in Ayurveda, there are so many nice recipes given which can be consumed during that period of Visarga, the nurturing period. And the second half of the year, it is during which when the weather is really hot. So that is called Adan Kala, Adan period. What happens during that time? During that time, the effect of sun is very strong, excess heat in the environment. And that has very depleting effect. It sucks up our energy and it has very depleting effect on our body. So broadly speaking, considering these 2 time periods, 2 kind of broad weather conditions during the year, if we start following the diet according to that, that also can help a lot. During winter time, during cold weather or during dry season, we consume the food items which can nourish us, which can nurture us. And during hot weather, during humid weather, we need to eat food which is light in nature, which can be digested very easily. The reason it is said that in cold weather, we need to eat a little bit heavy food, which can nurture our body, because during cold weather, our body produces more heat within to fight with the cold weather outside. So because of that, I think most of you must have experienced that in cold weather, in winter season, the appetite is much more compared to what we experience in the hot weather. So when appetite is more, we tend to eat more. Now there are other rules and regulations to be followed according to the season on daily basis. It is mentioned in Ayurveda that during cold weather, when our appetite is good, we tend to eat more. So now our body needs more time to digest it and absorb it. For that reason, during cold weather, the length of nights are longer. So that also nature has made such provision. When we have long nights, we can sleep longer. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen with most of us. Because of our habits, because of so many attractions or distractions around, we don't follow these kind of basic principles what Ayurveda recommends. So we tend to stay awake late at night. Now because of globalization, people have worked very late at night because of different time zones. They have to work, they have to interact with people in different time zones, so they stay up late at night. And because of that, what happens? If we have eaten more, we are not giving enough time, enough rest to our digestive system to digest and absorb it. So because of that, also the food remains undigested. And that's why even during nurturing period, when our body has to be nurtured, rejuvenated, we feel depleted because of our wrong habits. So these kind of very beautiful guidelines given in Ayurveda, what can help us in a very simple way. We don't have to depend on so much of medication, so many health supplements. just to correct these kind of simple problems. So I'm sharing here with you very basic guidelines given in Ayurveda. In cold weather, because the appetite is more due to excess heat generated in the body, so we need to eat substantial quantity, particularly at lunchtime. And that also Ayurveda says very precisely between 10 and 2, where during the Pitta period, during the time when the fire element is very strong in our system. So during that time, lunchtime mainly, if we eat substantially, then that can help us to increase the energy of our body. Our resistance power can improve with that. And during cold weather, during dry weather, we may feel very dehydrated. Sometimes, if we are working in the same environment, which environment we have in the hot weather, so we don't notice, whether our body is dehydrated or not. We don't feel thirsty, but we need to make conscious effort to keep on drinking hot water during cold weather, so that our body doesn't feel dehydrated. And sleep well at proper time. This one, I would like to share with you a little bit in more detail. What is proper time for going to bed? Ayurveda is a very unique science. The things, the guidelines also which are mentioned in Ayurveda, which can be applied generally by common people and specifically for an individual who is having some specific particular problems. So these general guidelines which are given, which are applicable for common people, for everybody in general, there is specific time mentioned in Ayurveda, which is recommended by which time one should go to bed. And that I had a discussion with many clients of mine who have Chinese background. So they say that in Chinese philosophy also, TCM also, they have the same concept. But this time, one should go to bed. In Ayurveda, precisely it is mentioned by 11 p.m. one should go to bed. Now, why by 11 p.m.? Latest by 11 p.m. Because it is said that 1 hour sleep before midnight is equivalent to 3 hours sleep after midnight. So when we talk about sleep, how much sleep one should have, the modern concept is they measure the duration of sleep according to the number of hours, according to different age group. But Ayurveda is more specific in that area also. It says that this is secondary, how many hours of sleep one has. It is very important what time in the evening, at night, one goes to bed. If we, for example, if we said, that an adult, grown-up adult needs about 8 hours sleep, for example, so that individual goes to bed at 11 p.m. and gets up at 7 o'clock on one day. And on the other day, he goes to bed by 12 midnight or 1 o'clock and gets up at 10 o'clock in the morning. So he got, by going to bed by 12 midnight or 1 o'clock after midnight, he's sleeping for longer hours. But still, when he wakes up in the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, in spite of sleeping for long hours, he will not be feeling so fresh. But on the night when he goes to bed by 11, and even if he gets up by, what to speak of 6 o'clock, by 5 o'clock also, now 11 to 5 got only 6 hours sleep, not 8 hours, what is normally recommended. So in spite of getting 6 hours sleep instead of 8 hours, he will feel much energetic, much more energetic, because his time to go to bed was earlier, 11 o'clock. So these kind of specific explanation is given in Ayurveda. From this, you can understand that how beautiful, how sublime science Ayurveda is. Then avoiding vigorous exercises in the evening. Now, this is also kind of a wrong habit in big cities like Hong Kong, Singapore, even Australia, also many cities. People, they have this kind of habit because whole day they are sitting in the office, working in the same kind of air-conditioned environment. So they feel that they need to sweat, they need to work out so that they feel tired in the evening, there at night, and they can fall asleep. I'm not against exercising. Ayurveda also recommends to exercise, but the timing is very important. What time of the day we exercise? According to Ayurveda, in the morning, between 6 and 10, when there is a kapha time, these are details I'm discussing with you a little bit, technical things. So during kapha time, one has to exercise so that throughout the day, one feels more energetic. But when Someone exercises in the evening. Now, evening time is to relax, to completely unwind our system. So many people, they try to reactivate the system by exercising. They want to feel tired. Of course, they will feel tired, and because of the physical tiredness, they may fall asleep. But what happens when we exercise? Our breathing becomes deeper, so we inhale more oxygen, and that is heating effect on the blood tissue. So when more oxygenated blood circulates around the brain, it has activating effect on the brain as well. And our subconscious mind also becomes more active. When pitta is strong, when fire element is strong in the body, so our subconscious mind also becomes more active. So physical tiredness can allow us to fall asleep. But at a subtle level, at subconscious level, we are still active. And that is the reason when such people who exercise in the evening, when they wake up in the morning, they feel very tired. And they wonder, that I went to work out in the evening to the gym, and I went to bed, I've slept very well, but still I'm feeling very tired. And in my experience, I have seen which such people, who work in the corporate companies, they share with me, they feel that they are sleeping, but they most of the time they have very vivid dreams, lots of dreams. So this shows that their subconscious mind was restless, and that's the reason they were having so many dreams. So those are the simple guidelines for the cold weather time of the year. Now during hot weather, normally in hot weather our appetite is quite affected. It diminishes a lot. We feel more thirsty than having any interest to eat any solid food. So we have to keep our meals very light. Even at lunchtime also, we should not have heavy meal. And consuming more liquids, the warm water and herbal drinks can be very helpful during hot weather. And those also will help us to rehydrate, because in hot weather normally we tend to sweat a lot. So that also causes losing more water element from our body. So to compensate that, we need to keep on regularly drinking water or liquids. Now, this may be surprising for many of you. In Ayurveda, it is mentioned particularly during summertime, when the weather is really hot. It is very beneficial to have a short nap in the afternoon. And that also between 2 and 6, very precise time. Between 2 and 6, generally, that is the Vata period when air element is very strong. So during that period, if someone can have a short nap, they say cat nap. So 15, 20 minutes, it has to be nap, not sleep. So when we have 15, 20 minutes nap, then it can rejuvenate our whole system. We feel very re-energized. So much of it, energy we feel after having short nap. So this is during summertime, it is recommended. One should have. So in the summer season, normally when it comes to fasting, a longer period fasting, normally it is not recommended during summertime. Because what happens if we fast during summertime, our body's energy is already depleted because of the hot environment, because of the effect of the strong sun rays. So we should not deplete our body by not supplying food to it. So we have to have regular meals, but very small portions. We should not burden our digestive system, what we can do during cold weather. So in summer, we have to be very mindful that we should not starve, we should not fast for too long, and at the same time, we should not overeat. Very basic points, which may be of interest of many of you, for many of you. With regard to the diet, now the food has to be fresh, freshly cooked. In Ayurveda, we talk about checking the food, with, whether the food has any prana or no. It does not have any prana. There are different methods for checking whether the food item has any prana or not, whether it has any energy or not. Now, if the food item itself does not have any prana, does not have any energy, how can it make us energized? So if we consume that kind of food which does not have any energy, that will become a burden on our digestive system. So we need to find fresh food. Ayurveda is completely against having fast food. This is the modern concept. Normally, in one of our lectures long time ago when I was studying, one of our gurus, he said that fast food It may be convenient to cook, it may be fast to prepare, it may be fast to even eat. At the same time, it can speed up the dying process. It can it can be very fast to push the person to the deathbed. So that also we need to be very mindful about. So fast food is not so healthy because it does not have any prana. So if it does not have any prana, as I said, it cannot give us any energy. So we need to be very careful what kind of food we choose to eat. There are different basic, I mean, very precise and very detailed guidelines given with regard to the eating habits. Perhaps, when we have next webinar, we can focus on that. That what kind of precautions, what kind of points we should bear in mind while having food, which normally we ignore. Now, spices play a very important role in Ayurveda. We are going through this very critical situation all around the world. Whole world is affected by uh, coronavirus. 17 years ago, we went through SARS. So at that time, it was a known fact, it came in many newspapers also, that very hardly they found any Indian being affected by SARS. Then they did the research. They found out the reason why Indians were not affected by SARS because in our Indian cooking, it is very common to use turmeric, curcuma, which has very good effect on uh, our immune system. It has a very beneficial effect. It is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antitoxic, it's antiseptic. So these kind of properties turmeric has, anti-cancerous also. So in Indian cooking, it is very commonly used practically every day. So because Indians consume so much of turmeric, their body was shield, protected by that SARS virus. So because of that, they were not affected. So similarly now, during this coronavirus period also, when we are affected, if we consume these kind of spices, they can help us to increase, generate vital heat. It can strengthen, enhance our vital heat. In Ayurveda, we talk about Vata, which is predominantly air, Pitta, which is predominantly fire, and Kapha, which is predominantly water. So amongst these three, Pitta is very significant when it comes to boosting our immune system because Pitta has transforming qualities. If any toxic metal also we have in our body, the Pitta can dissolve it and help us to eliminate it from our body through our excretory system, through sweat, urine or sweat, urine or stool. So because of that, Pitta is very, very significant. And Pitta can be increased by consuming these kind of spices. So these spices play a very important role in Ayurvedic cooking. Now, this is also very important, but nowadays, we cannot follow this principle of Ayurveda very well because of globalization. In Hong Kong, particularly, we don't know which are the seasonal fruits and which are like fruits which are not seasonal because of, we get the same kind of fruits all around the year. So it is very difficult to find out what kind of fruits are seasonal and which kind of fruits are not seasonal. But if we are able to consume fruit or food items which are seasonal, they can be very beneficial because nature produces food which is necessary for people according to the weather condition. So if we are fortunate enough to find the seasonal fruits and food items and consume those can help us a lot to boost our immune system. And then when our immune system is stronger, our metabolism is working very well, then the formation and accumulation of ama won't happen. And when ama is not produced in our body, not accumulated, then these kind of viruses and bacteria which are around in our environment, they cannot enter into our system. And in Ayurvedic cooking, it is very important to use clarified butter, ghee. If ghee is not available, then one can use virgin coconut oil. But using different kind of vegetable oils are not so much recommended in Ayurveda. Now, this point also is very significant. Taking some hot drink, herbal drink between 2 and 6. This is the Vata period. Vata, Pitta, Kapha. During the day, they influence, they have strong influence in the environment and on our body also, and they keep on changing by rotation. Like in the morning from 6 o'clock, generally, uh, all around the world, between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., it is called Kapha period. That means when the humidity is more, influence of water element is stronger. And then between 10 and 2 is a Pitta period, fire element. And that's the reason lunchtime, according to Ayurveda, one is very important to have a big meal, substantial meal. And between 2 and 6, 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. And again, between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., it's a Vata period when the air element is very strong in the environment. So to prevent from having any drying effect and other effect on our system of the vata, excessive air, we have to hydrate our body with some hot herbal drink. And this also is very important. This helps us to uh, prevent or avoid formation of ama in our body. Our natural urges. There are several urges in Ayurveda which are mentioned, which are non-suppressible urges. And that also can be very long kind of webinar, to discuss. If we have time in future, we can organize a webinar to talk about these urges. So these urges like hunger, thirst, urination, these natural urges should not be suppressed. If we suppress these kind of urges for each and every urge, what kind of uh, health problems, health issues one can experience, those are also in detail mentioned in Ayurveda. So these urges should not be suppressed. From yoga perspective, of course, there are many postures in yoga which are recommended, which can help us to eliminate the toxic mucus from the body, ama, which can help again, uh, from, which help us to prevent ourselves from being affected, influenced by these kind of viruses and bacteria in the environment. I will focus on specific one, Bastrika Pranayam. Many of you may be knowing about this pranayam, how it is done. There are different ways of doing it, but a specific way, which is mentioned in Ayurveda and yogic philosophy, the way it helps us to strengthen our respiratory system, our lungs, and our skull part also, and our nasal passage, our sinus, all these area from the chest, from the lungs upwards, benefit a lot by doing this Vastrika Pranayam in particular way. I'm going to demonstrate this today. I'm going to show you. And if it is possible, you can do it uh, every day, if it is possible. One kind of precaution, very interesting precaution, it is mentioned that this pranayam should not be done after sunset or near sunset, around sunset. Because if it is done around that time, then it may cause a bit of difficulty in falling asleep because it can activate our brain a lot. So when our brain is very active, then it is very difficult for us to fall asleep. So if it is avoided in the evening, then these kind of adverse effect we don't see. But if we do it in the morning, then throughout the day, we can feel very alert and very awake. So the way it is to be done, I'm showing you in the sitting position, but it is recommended to be done in the standing position. The starting posture is you stand straight, keeping your feet together and your back straight. And then bend your neck backwards, tilting your head as much as you can. And keeping your neck completely bent, your back should be straight. Then you need to start vigorous breathing through your nose. And you need to increase the speed of your breathing. Start slowly and gradually you pick up the speed and then you slow down. Then you stop the exercise. Please don't stop breathing. You stop the exercise. And after that, you breathe in a normal way. So keeping your back straight, your neck completely bent.
You can't receive. Receive her.
25 to 30 deep breaths. When you do this, when you start doing it, initially you may feel a bit dizzy. So don't get alarmed when you have these kind of symptoms. Actually, it's a good sign. When I used to conduct general yoga classes, late 90s and early 2000, 2001. So when I used to show this breathing exercise, so I would ask the students in the class, how many of you are feeling a bit dizzy? So some of them will raise hands, and some of them would not raise hands because they would think that it's a wrong symptom, so they would not raise hands. So when some people are raising hands, and I would tell them, that those who are raising hands, those people are the one who did it correctly. Because when you do it correctly, then these kind of symptoms are very normal. Because what happens when we are breathing vigorously, so much of oxygen we are supplying to the brain cells and the arteries. So those places normally do not receive so much of oxygen, and that also with force. So when we supply the oxygen with force, so it's very normal to feel a little bit of dizzy. But slowly, when we do it regularly, then these kind of symptoms will subside. And the yoga posture, out of 8.4 million postures in yoga, in Ashtanga yoga, this is a unique posture which is very useful, beneficial for the lungs. In yoga, it is mentioned, yogic philosophy, it is mentioned the name of the posture is Gomukhasana. Go means a cow, and Mukha means cow's face. So in this posture, when we sit, it resembles the face of a cow. So it is said that it is better to do this posture than eating beef. Eating beef can be very harmful for health, but doing this posture, Gomukhasana, it can help us a lot. The way it is done, many of you may be familiar, you might have seen this. So I'm doing with the left arm. Left arm you turn from down, bend your elbow, and move your hand towards the nape of your neck. Then right arm you bend, your elbow is bent over the head. Then you interlock your fingers. And keeping your back straight, your neck straight, you do normal breathing. So actually there's a position of the legs also. I'm not showing you that, but this also is quite beneficial. Sitting on the chair, now when you're doing it on the chair, it will be better that if you sit at the edge of the chair so that your back is straight. When you sit at the edge of the chair, you get proper support. You give proper support to the sacrum, so that can help your spine to remain straight. So when you do this posture, Gomukhasana, for 1 minute, and then you change the position. So what happens when we do this? Now when I did like this, my right arm is like this, and the left arm is from down. So my left lung feel very relaxed, and the right lung feels very active. So when we change the position, we alternate like that. So one lung, is this resting, and the other side of the lung is active. So when we relax and reactivate the functioning of the lungs, it has very good beneficial effect. It improves the efficiency of the lungs to breathe in more oxygen. Normally, we see that, we might have experience with our own self. Our breathing is generally very shallow because our lungs are not opening to their fullest capacity. So when they don't open up to the fullest capacity, our breathing becomes very shallow. So our body does not get enough oxygen what our body needs. And when our body needs that oxygen because of our physical exertion, then we feel shortness of breath. So that when we feel shortness of breath, that indicates that lungs are not functioning very well. So when we do this simple posture regularly, just 1 minute on each side, that can help to improve the efficiency of the lungs. It helps to open the pores, air sacs we call it, of the lungs. So their efficiency improves. They get toned up, they get cleansed, and they get toned up. So their efficiency to breathe in more oxygen becomes very beneficial for us. And the posture Shavasana. This you might have heard, you may be knowing about it. It sounds very simple posture, a corpse pose, but very seldom people do it correctly. If it is not done correctly, then we don't get benefit of this. So if it is done correctly, what kind of benefits we get? Normally it is recommended, when we come back home from working outside, instead of directly going to the dining table and eating, in Ayurveda it is mentioned one should relax the body. There are other guidelines also mentioned. One should wash hands, feet, mouth, face, and even head also after entering the house. But if those things are not possible, at least one should lie down flat on one's back and relax the body. Just focus on your breathing. So when you relax the whole system, you might have interacted with so many people with so many different kind of energies they have. So those energies of people also affect us in different ways, depending on what kind of energy a person has. So to get rid of that effect of those people's energy, whether it is positive or negative, we need to come to our own energy level. So to be able to do that, when we relax our body, the effect of the energy of other people is neutralized. And then for after doing this posture for 5 to 10 minutes, then we wash up our hands and feet and we eat. That we can digest our food quite well. And when we practice this posture after coming back from a whole day work, and we neutralize the effect of the energies of other people, the quality of our sleep also can be much better. If we don't do that, the effect of energy of other people is bothering us, still the effect is there, then that can disturb our sleep at the subconscious level. So from that perspective, Shavasana, the corpse pose, is very beneficial, provided it is done in the correct way. Many of you also may be familiar with gestures, hand gestures, mudras. According to Ayurveda, 4 fingers and thumbs we have. So these represent 5 elements. Thumbs represent fire. Index fingers represent air element. Middle fingers represent space element. Ring fingers represent fire element. Earth element. And the little fingers represent water element. So when we combine these fingers with thumbs, they have different results. So here, our main focus today is to eliminate ama from the body, so that our metabolism works very well, which has very positive effect on our immune system. When our immune system is stronger, mucus is not there in our body, so these kind of viruses cannot affect us. So to have that kind of effect on our body, very simple mudra, Vayu mudra. Now this mudra, sometimes it is called Dhyana mudra or Jnana mudra also. The index finger, which represents air, and the thumb, which represents fire. So when we touch tips of our thumb and index finger like this, so this mudra is formed, this gesture is formed. This is Vayu mudra. This can help to regulate the circulation of air in our body. According to Ayurveda, there are 10 different types of air in our body. For many of you, it may be very surprising. So from this also you can understand how much more in detail the whole aspect of our human life is explained in Ayurveda. 10 types of air. So all these 10 types of air can be regulated. The flow of these airs can be regulated in our body by doing this mudra. Now, in my practice, I've experienced, many of my clients, if not all, but most of the clients, they have one or the other kind of problems with their digestive system. Either they feel indigestion, bloated feeling, gas problem, constipation, sometimes diarrhea, sometimes constipation. So these kind of problems people experience a lot. Now, to correct these kind of problems in general, if the problem is not so chronic, so what Ayurveda recommends, another mudra, which is called Apana Vayu mudra. One type of air. Out of 10 types of air, 2 types of air are very important. Prana Vayu, which can be regulated by the breathing exercise I told you, Bhastrika Pranayama, that affects the Prana Vayu. The residence of Prana Vayu is our chest, the heart region. And residence of Apana Vayu is in the lower abdomen, which helps to excrete the toxic matter from the body. So when the Apana Vayu is not working very well, toxic matter cannot be eliminated. And when it is not eliminated, then this ama is accumulated in the body. Then it can give rise to so many health problems, as we discussed earlier. So to correct that, the functioning of Apana Vayu, the Vayu finger, the air finger, the index finger should be placed at the base of the thumb. and the thumb should cover it slightly, and the fingers, which represent space and earth, should be touching the fire element, the thumb. So this is the mudra. So when we do this mudra, I have suggested or recommended to many of my clients to do this mudra, particularly when they go for clearing the bowels. So when they sit in this on the WC, the toilet seat, and they do this mudra, they personally experience, many of my clients have said that it becomes easier to eliminate the toxic matter from the body without putting so much of pressure. Normally pressure is not recommended in Ayurveda, but normally it becomes like a habit. It's a human nature. So when the waste matter is not being expelled so easily, naturally, then the tendency is there to put pressure. So when we do this mudra while sitting in the WC, it can ease the flow of air. And when the air flow is smooth, it can expel. It can help us to expel the toxic matter, the waste matter from the body without so much of difficulty. Very funny thing I want to share with you. Many of my clients, they tell me, Mr. Sharma, we remember you first thing in the morning when we are in the toilet. So when they do this mudra, I think they may be reminded of what I tell them. So this is the mudra. If you want to experiment on yourself, you can try from tomorrow itself. In the morning when you go to clear your bowels, you do this mudra. It can be very helpful. So these are some of the guidelines I wanted to share with you. I hope that you found this information from ancient scripture of Ayurveda very useful. To conclude today's session, I would emphasize on this point: the part of metabolism, digestion, assimilation, and elimination is to be optimized, which can help us to prevent the formation of ama, accumulation of ama. And as I mentioned to you, that toxic environment, particularly the wet mucus environment, is a very conducive environment for the viruses like COVID-19 to flourish within our body and cause harmful effect. So ama, toxic mucus, is expelled from our system, and do not create an environment within our system to allow this virus to flourish. Doing this will optimize our immune system. So I hope you found this information, what I shared with you from the Ayurvedic texts, very useful. If you have any questions, then I can see that if I can answer, if we have enough time. Naji, if we have any questions?
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello, Vinodji?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Very informative presentation. One of the questions I had was on the time that you mentioned, that is 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Do these times change based on local domicile? In the sense, because I was born in India and we moved to Hong Kong.
Yes.
Do we have to follow this as per Indian time, or do we have to follow this as per Hong Kong time? And let's say tomorrow we move somewhere else. Do we have to follow the same time based on the local place where we stay, or
Yes.
basically the
These
benchmark an
things,
Indian state?
yes. These kind of technical points, with regard to the time, we need to follow where we are living, where we are residing, and also according to the sunrise time of that geographical region.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from anyone?
Yeah, I have a question, Mataji, Prabhu.
Yes.
That posture you were doing, your head was on the back. I was not able to see what you are doing there. Means you were lying and your face was gone back.
The Gomukhasana, the cow space pose.
No, the second one, the
pranayam.
face was back.
The pranayam.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want, I can show you. I can just turn a little bit and I can show you.
Yeah, that will be better. Yeah.
I can show you again.
can do on the chair or on the floor?
You have to stand. Normally, I said, preferably it should be done in the standing position and not on the bare floor. Always, when you are doing any yoga exercise, it is advisable to use a cotton towel, thick cotton towel, or anything which is made of cotton material, not synthetic material.
Okay.
So standing on the floor, keeping your feet together, keeping your back straight, and bending your neck completely. In this position, you need to do the vigorous breathing through the nostrils. This is the way. You have to start slowly, gradually increase the speed of your breathing. The breathing has to be deep enough. Inhalation has to be deep enough, and complete exhalation. Thank you for asking this question. Here, I want to mention one point. Many times we don't exhale properly also. Our inhalation can be sometimes very deep, but our exhalation is not good. As I said, what Ayurveda says, that food intake is very important. Good quality food, the food which has very good prana. Consuming such kind of food is very important. At the same time, if it is not more, it is equally important to excrete the toxic matter from the body. So it is very important with regard to our breathing also. We have to inhale proper oxygen. At the same time, we have to completely exclude carbon dioxide from our body. Very effective. Did you see pranayama showed again? Hina ji? Hello? Hello?
Prabhu,
Yes?
could you please explain more on the prana of a food? You said fast foods don't have prana. So how do we identify what is prana, and any thumb rule to identify?
Yeah, see, this I mentioned at that time when we were talking about, I was talking about this particular point. There are different ways, different methods through which we can find out whether the food which you are going to eat, it has prana or not. So one of the easiest, one of the very simple way of doing is that, you take the food item in your left hand or right hand, preferably right hand. You hold that food near in the heart region, and then you stretch your left arm at the shoulder level, and ask somebody to push downward, and you see how much you can resist. If you have enough strength to resist it, that will indicate that the food which you are holding in your right hand is prana. But if that person can push your arm very easily, you are not able to resist much. Using your energy, you don't feel so much of energy to resist. That means the food which you're holding in your right hand does not have much prana. And also the food which is stale, which is not fresh. Of course, the stale food does not have any prana.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Ji?
Prabhu, I have one question.
विनोद जी
आस्ते थे ना रजिस्टर है ना वो अच्छी करे हाँ
Hello.
Lot of background noise. So if you're not asking a question, please could you mute yourself?
because it's disturbing for everyone else. Mute yourself, and only if you're asking a question, then you can speak into the microphone.
We are going
Otherwise,
out for a little while.
I had a question on mudras. Can I ask?
There was somebody else asking a question earlier.
Ngurain that bay yakin ngurain.
Vinodji, I would also like to ask for suggestions for digestive problems. What would you advise people with digestive problems do?
See, in general, we already touched those points, which generally you can use to improve the functioning of your digestive system. You have to add specific spices in your food, in your diet. Now, if somebody has very specific question pertaining to individual's health, I would suggest that this is not the forum to bring up personal questions. If you want to ask something which is general, which can be beneficial for others also to know, I will appreciate that.
Vinodji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I just posed, but maybe I repeat my question here. So you mentioned about Shavasana has to do in a proper way. So can you tell us more? What is the proper way? Is it just lie down after coming back to home and lie down and relax? Breathing is enough, or any special technique in practicing Shavasana?
Yes, there is a preparation required prior to doing the actual Shavasana. One has to lie down flat on one's back, and then starting from the toes, so one has to go slowly, gradually upwards, all the way to the eyes, uh, stretching or contracting and stretching the muscles of different parts. Like for example, toes. You bend your toes and then you spread your toes apart while breathing in and out. So in that way, gradually you contract and relax muscles of different parts of the body, starting with the toes, going upwards all the way to the eyes. So when we do that, we contract and relax the muscles, then it has more beneficial proper effect of the Shavasana. So this is the preparation one has to do. Sorry, I cannot demonstrate here because of the limitations we have. But verbally this much I can tell you that starting from the toes, you go upwards. When you stretch or relax your muscles, you breathe in. And when you're contracting any muscles or you're tensioning your muscles at that time, you breathe out. So this is a simple guideline you need to remember when you do it. And gradually from the toes, you go upwards all the way to the eyes. So when you do that, after that, when you do Shavasana, it can be much more effective.
What's the benefits of just first contracting the muscle and then relaxing? What's the benefit or rationale behind?
Yeah, the logic behind is, when we do that, and after that, when we are doing the final Shavasana for the whole body, the air circulation is very smooth. So when we contract and we relax, so we are allowing the channels to open up to facilitate the smooth flow of the air. So when the airflow is very smooth, then we are not distracted by any kind of discomfort in any part of the body. So our Shavasana becomes quite complete.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question on mudras. Can I ask now?
Yes.
You told us about Vayu Mudra, and also I want to know is there any best timing for doing mudras and for how long it should we hold it?
See this Apana Vayu Mudra, which I showed you, which is very beneficial for clearing the bowels.
Yeah.
You will be surprised when you do it. Even if you do it for a minute, it can show its effect. But other Vayu Mudra and Apana Vayu Mudra, they show the effect very fast. But other mudras, to experience the beneficial effect of those mudras, we need to maintain those mudras at least for 5 minutes. Now, there is no any kind of prerequisite that whether we are sitting in certain posture or we are standing or not. There is no such kind of prerequisite. In the standing position also, you can apply mudra, or while walking also, you can apply mudra. It will show the effect. But minimum, you should apply that mudra for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes? Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
If you have arthritis in your hands, what mudras, because this hand is okay, but this hand, I can't do that. So what could I do to, strengthen this hand? Or is there a mudra that you could do if you're incapacitated with arthritis, which I think is an inflammatory condition? Thank you.
Yes. So now see, from Ayurvedic perspective, main cause of inflammatory or rheumatism or arthritis, is the accumulation of mucus, which does not allow the air to circulate very well, and that causes stiffness and pain. So to address this both elements, if you can do the Vayu Mudra, which I showed you first, touching the tip of your index finger with the tip of your thumb, that also can benefit you a lot.
Okay.
One point I want to mention here, since you raised this point, some of you may be having this question, a doubt in your mind that if you do not know your personal constitution, then how can you find out what is an appropriate or suitable diet for you? What is the right diet for you? For that kind of situation also, what Ayurveda recommends, see how practical this science is. Even if the person doesn't have any kind of opportunity, accessibility to consult someone who is expert in this line, what Ayurveda says, one should presume the person has the problems caused by air imbalance, the vata imbalance, because other elements like pitta and kapha also depend on vata. We cannot imagine fire without oxygen. We cannot imagine water element moving in the body without the air element. So air is known as transporting element in our body. So if we take care of the air element and any kind of imbalance caused by the air element, and we correct that imbalance, then other problems also slowly can be corrected. So from that perspective, I would suggest, if you do the Vayu Mudra, it can help you a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or even if you said that you cannot do with your left hand, you start doing it with your right hand. Even you start with one hand, and slowly you will see that once the air circulation improves, by you doing it with one hand, slowly it will energize your left hand as well, and you can benefit from that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have a question. Vinodji, you mentioned about turmeric being a very good spice to consume to boost up our immunity. But I want to ask about in terms of quality. There's so many different qualities in the market. How do we know which is good, which is not good?
Yeah, for that reason, we need to be very mindful. We need to find the right source of this turmeric from where we are getting. Now, there are so many outlets, they sell organic products like yourself also. You also have organic turmeric. So that can be very useful to use. The main thing also, one thing is the quality, the other thing, how to use it. The proper usage of turmeric also, it's very important. It's not only in the hot milk or hot drink you add and have it. You have to add while boiling the milk, and in order to mix nicely with the milk, if you can add a little bit of virgin coconut oil or pure ghee, clarified butter in that, and that also when you add to while boiling, it will allow the turmeric to completely mix with the milk or the hot drink, whichever drink you are mixing it with, and then you consume it, it can be absorbed in your body in much better way.
So we can, when we are boiling the milk, we should allow the powder to boil with it, or we just put a pinch of turmeric on top of it after it boils?
No, you have to boil the turmeric. You need to cook the turmeric. One way, it said that the turmeric has to get cooked when you're boiling the milk. Ideally, what Ayurveda says, in order to balance all these three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, when you mix this turmeric in the milk, you bring it to the boiling point 3 times.
Okay.
There is a logic behind it. You bring it to the boiling point three times. When you do that, then this turmeric mixed milk, golden milk, can pacify or can balance all these 3 doshas.
So same thing with water. If we were to boil turmeric with water, we have to boil?
No, but the water cannot come to the boiling point like the milk does, right? But normally, it is said, it is recommended. Unfortunately, nowadays, we don't get good quality milk. But if it is mixed with the milk, then only it is very beneficial. Otherwise, you can use the almond milk. You can use the almond milk or even coconut milk. So you can mix turmeric in that coconut milk or almond milk, and then bring it to the boiling point, and then cool it down to room temperature. Then you drink it.
Okay. So that is because it absorbs in the body better?
Yes. When it is, in one way, it is cooked nicely, it boiled together with the liquid, any kind of milk, then it is absorbed in the body in much better way.
And in terms of even cooking, for Indian cooking, we use a lot of turmeric all the time. So it's best while we're cooking, we put it in and cook it rather than just sprinkle it on top, right?
Normally for cooking also, it is said, first you need to cook it a little bit in either virgin coconut oil or ghee. Then you add other spices, then you add the vegetables, whatever vegetables you want to cook.
Okay, so you're not just sprinkling it on top and then mixing it and like that.
Ideally, one has to cook it properly. Okay. Of course, when you add on top also, it will benefit, but it will not get absorbed completely.
Understand. Okay. So thank you so much. If anybody has one last question before we end this session, please raise your hands.
Yeah, I do. Just a really quick question. Thank you, doctor. I just wanted to ask, why is it that some people cannot digest cow's milk?
Yes, this I have also come across many clients, especially non-Indian clients. They have this problem. Nowadays, Indian clients also. First of all, the main reason is because the quality of milk is not good. It's not natural. The cows we are getting the milk from, they are not nurtured properly. They have been injected, with so many of hormones and all that. So because of that, as a result of that, whatever milk we get from such cows, the quality of that milk is not so good. But if you're fortunate enough to get milk, then it should not have so much of a problem. It should not cause so much a problem with your digestive system. Another thing, what I've come across, what I've noticed from my clients, they have this, they call it lactose intolerance. Yeah. Right? They say because of that, they cannot digest milk. Now, the problem is that, the lactose intolerance is generally, that can be easily corrected when they boil milk. The problem happens of this lactose intolerance is when people drink cold milk. They pick up, they take out the milk from the fridge and they start drinking it. So it is said that, when we keep milk in the cold temperature in the fridge, the molecules of the milk, they become quite concentrated. And our body's temperature is not able to break those molecules. Then they cannot be digested. They cannot be absorbed. So to dilute that milk, to break the molecules, we need to boil the milk to the boiling point. Heat the milk to the boiling point. After that only, the milk becomes digestible. If we drink cold milk, then this kind of lactose intolerance is very common. And what I have done, with my clients who had the complaint of lactose intolerance, I told them to get used to digesting milk. Initially, they can dilute milk by adding half water, take half milk, half water, and then gradually go on reducing the quantity of water and increasing the quantity of milk. In that way, they saw that their body was able to digest milk.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now it's 6:30 p.m. already, and we will come to an end with this session. So thank you so much, everybody who has taken the precious time to join in this very enlightening topic. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for sharing so much knowledge with us.
Pleasure.
So let us, we will continue having such webinar series until the social distancing is completely released, and hopefully soon, I wish. Thank you everybody else who's also joined us from different countries and cities around the world. We would like to inform you, Ayurveda Wellness would like to share with you that we are going to be having our next session is this coming Sunday. We are actually we're going to be celebrating World Laughter Day. It's the 3rd of May, 2020. And we're having an online laughter-thon from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. where we are inviting 15 inspiring speakers who will enlighten us and uplift us with their knowledge. As we all know that during this COVID-19 period, lots of people are suffering from anxiety, stress, fear, depression, and more, right? So we would really like to reach out to the community, not only locally, but globally, to share knowledge from these speakers of how we can actually uplift ourselves, remain positive, remain emotionally and mentally stable. So please do join us. You can join in any sessions. It's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to be sharing with you the flyer very soon. So with the webinar ID as well, please join us and share with your family, friends, network, because ultimately I think the world needs a lot of positive vibrations right now. Okay, so thank you so much again. Thank you, everybody, and we wish to see you soon again.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinodji. It was great.
You're welcome.
Badhiya raha.
Oh, can we see the recording somewhere, or is there any link we can replay this class, this course again? Oh.
We will be having many such webinars in the future. So at the moment we will, yes, this recording is not actually open to everybody right now. But you may join many such sessions in the future.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.